3 years ago, made Pinkster a holiday again because it was outlawed for abolition. It was continued as a major holiday, and it was an election of the African king of Pinkster, who was usually an Angolan. And the last celebration was just before 1811. In 1811, the Pinkster king, the African Pinkster king, in fact, there was a poem written about him, Charles, yes, of Africa, Carolus Rex. There was a poem written about him by a man named Absalom Amwell. I guess it's one of the early abolitionist poems. And it hailed him as king, and it also talked about the African burial ground on Pinkster Hill. That's where the state capitol sits. And he was hailed as king not only in the end by Africans, but also by the Lenape peoples, and also by poor whites who were also indentured, many of them. And when they started all hailing him as king, he grew to be dangerous to the state of New York. And so they outlawed the celebration of state New York by stripping him of his power, because he had great powers. They stripped him of his power by outlawing the celebration, and that's when they drove people from the cemetery, the hill, and they built the state capitol upon it. And then, but Pinkster still continued in lower Manhattan, in lower New York, and it continued until about 1850 when it was stopped because of the Fugitive Slave Act, and no two black people wanted to be out in public because they could be snatched up and taken to the South because they looked like somebody and there was no legal recourse for them in New York. So we hope that 2026 will be the celebration.
Just curious, does this Pinkster burial ground, is that acknowledged by New York State?
Listen. Yes, what was your question?
The burial ground that is now New York State Capitol, is there acknowledgement that
There's nothing there. There's no acknowledgement. So we have to work on that. We really have to work on that. It needs to be, we need to meet with Cuomo, and we also need to have an RFP or a kind of memorial will be there now, because there's absolutely nothing there.
Has there been any testing or remains actually identified there?
No. All we have is